Before this trip, I got a message from my friend asking me to try his Leica M11 rangefinder camera. I was excited and curious about this new Leica M11 because I wanted to know how different the color would be compared to my Leica M10P. Would it be Leica M9? I didn't follow much about the new Leica M11 because I knew this was just another new camera. When he passed me camera body, I looked at him and said, "Oh, this thing is light." It's been 2 years I haven't traveled. We are all locked in Hong Kong. Finally I can get away from this city to visit Singapore for a week. Leica M8 was my first digital rangefinder camera, and I purchased this pre-owned camera in 2010. It was an excellent CCD sensor camera that offered me fantastic color and images like positive slide film, but it takes UV or cut filters to correct the color. Otherwise, black will be in purple, which is troublesome, meaning every single lens has to attach a UV or cut filter. Leica M9 or M9P are both cameras that are upgraded from M8. I owned them multiple times because of the CCD color and full frame sensor. I still think Leica M9P is the most beautiful digital light camera ever made, and it's black paint. First, you have to meet my gang. This is Reggie. He bought a Leica Q2 and Leica M11 and he loves shooting black and white film. He said before he met me, he thought he would only spend no more than $300 on a camera. Second very important person is KD. Nikon is in his blood. In this trip, he's brought a Nikon FE2, Mamiya 6 and Sony A9. Surprisingly, he left other Nikon babies at home. We spent some nice time together in Japan, but I found there are so many street photos with KD on the side of my photos. Anyways, in this trip I have a very good start by taking photos for tourists. I think it's fun to explore the city again, and it has changed so much since my last visit. There were no garden by the bay and Marina Bay Sand. It is my first time to be there. However, I got really sick and spent most of my trip in my hotel room watching HBO movies. I can't stay. I think the overall hands-on experience is the camera is very light. I think less heavy than my Leica M10 and M10P. It has same ISO dial but some changes to its button layout. The most important and impressive thing about this camera is the color. I think it kind of renders like M9. The DNG file I got from M10 is flat because once I try this camera, all colors are already tuned to be sharper and eye-catching. Stand out that you don't need to adjust too much. Maybe a small tweak of color temperature, it depends on my personal preference, but then I think it's good to go. But the downside is skin tone. It is not that great when it's at night. This camera has fast processing power, nice vibrant color, and option to have small file size. It is powerful because it is an improved version of both M10 and M10P. I don't see an urgent need for me to upgrade, but if you have some cash or selecting your first rangefinder camera, I would highly recommend this M11. If not, I already have my M10P, I would no doubt choose this M11. For the camera body, I like the finishing. It has some kind of durable texture rather than the smooth and kind of easy to scratch finish on the M10 and M10P. This camera is not perfect. I think the startup time is too long, about 0.5 to 1 second. It feels there's a time lag because it has to release the shutter curtain to do the metering, unlike the old models. Another complaint from me would be the metering. I couldn't really get the menu metering right. Maybe that's my problem. The most attractive part for me and make me really want to consider this M11 is the option to choose between large, medium, and small DNG files. Small DNG files are 18 megapixel, same as the Leica M9. Normally I don't really need high resolution files, and I often like to have a small file size to have better processing speed, dynamic range, and I have different vintage lenses that performs the best in this file size. Vintage lenses tends to be more natural and genuine than high-res files. On the lens detection, you can select those lenses that you always use, so each time you can switch much quicker rather than you have to scroll down the whole menu to find what you need. Another new function that I found is the shutter type, but I'm an old school person, so I'll just keep it on mechanical. I don't like image bending unless I want to use a very large aperture during the day. I spent some time shooting in a skateboard park near where I live in Orchard Gateway, and using the large DNG file size you can literally zoom in with a very good sharpness, and even you can crop the image to be another photo. So there are many debates about the bottom plate. Some might prefer the old way because it enhances the design. If I remember correctly, this new design was first implemented in Leica SL. But honestly, I like the design because I can take out my SD card easily and I don't need to hold my base plate in my pocket. What could Leica offer in the M11P version? It's time for me to start saving up for an M11P. I'm curious, but it better be something good.